Hey, it's May 30th, 12:30 at night. They woke me up and harassed me, and now they're not letting me go back to sleep. So I'm making a videotape because it's unacceptable what they're doing. So today I want to talk about remote neural monitoring, otherwise wireless brain manipulation. All of this can be found on my blog at mindcontrolinformation.blogspot.com. Also, mindcontrolinformation.wordpress.com. If you want to email me, you can reach me at mindcontrolinformation@gmail.com. So remote neural monitoring. To break it down, the remote is wireless and from a distance, without hardware or implants. Neural is what you're conscious of, what you're aware of, and what you're thinking currently. The viewing portion, monitoring, comes into either viewing, hacking, observing, or recording. What you're getting hit with electronic harassment, remote neural monitoring, are actually two weapons. They're radio waves and microwaves. Now, there may be more, but there are at least two. They apply energy to any part of your brain. The possibilities and the symptoms are endless. They can do whatever they want to your brain and make your body feel however they like. They have both physical and psychological control of your brain and your body. They can hear and they can see what you're thinking and feeling and manipulating. For example, if you're thinking about a high-pitched scream, one of them will flinch and you can feel it. So if you imagine yourself screaming at a high pitch, oftentimes the guy on the left will flinch because of the gear that's set up to listen to your thoughts. And if you think in a loud scream, the guy jumps because it's very sensitive. But my point is, you have to be thinking of it for them to see it. So, as far as memories are concerned, they can only see your past thoughts only when you remember them and only have access to what you're thinking of. So they can't see stuff that you remembered in the past, any memory, unless you're actually thinking of it, you're conscious of it. They start all their harassment by trying to verbalize your thoughts and what you're thinking of. This is more annoying than anything because your brain is not trained to operate that way. You never really get used to it, as your brain is already developed differently. So you never quite get used to somebody trying to verbalize your thoughts or what you're thinking. Is a major shock hearing someone speak to you telepathically for the first time and respond to what you're thinking of. Naturally, when all this happens, people look to mental illness as the answer. But unfortunately, the people that harass you, they will not let you by continuously telling you that you're not crazy. They will go over that over and over again as they're talking to you, and you're saying to yourself, I can't believe this is happening. They're repeating, you're not crazy, you're not crazy. So you're absolutely aware that the signal's coming from outside of your body somewhere. They don't let you go, and even medication doesn't help. I take it anyways because I like the characteristics that make me go to sleep, because I'm up at 12:30 at night, wide awake, drinking coffee because I'm being tortured. If I can take something that makes me go to sleep, it is really truly the only shielding that I have found that works is sleep. Yeah, they can poke and prod while I'm asleep, but when I am asleep, I am not aware of the fact that they're always there. And none of the other shielding has ever worked. Truly, sleep is the only shielding that has ever worked for me. But I take the medication because doctors say to. Yeah, I don't believe it's going to hurt me. And I'm doing everything in my power to make this stuff go away because it's not real. So, after thoroughly making you believe the energy is coming from outside of your body, the hunt for the speakers, microphones, and cameras began. I tore my living room up. I even tore my car up looking for microphones and speakers and cameras that could have been in it that could possibly be the source of what I was hearing, to no avail. I searched everything from walls to electronics. You're absolutely positive the incursion is external and you're convinced to find the source. The problem is that you can't possibly imagine that what you're experiencing is instantaneously wireless, and that it's most likely coming from satellite. It is so fast speed at which they can read your mind, and it can get into what they're hearing, they can process it, and they can respond to it. It's lightning fast, and the last thing you would ever assume is that it's wireless. So looking for implants is natural, because you're looking for some sort of hardware that would explain why you're hearing what you're hearing. Soon after the unsuccessful search of the dwelling, targeted individuals often point the finger at their neighbor or coworker as the source of the harassment. This is always wrong, as these people are hundreds of miles away from you, if not thousands of miles away from you, manipulating you from afar. It's not your neighbor next door, and it's not your coworker. They don't want to risk getting caught. They would never come that close to somebody they're harassing. So, you point the fingers at your neighbors, this plays right into their hands. They want to instigate as much chaos as possible in a targeted individual's life. They want you to think it's coming from your neighbors, so you create some sort of conflict with them. And once the conflict is created, it's easier for them to manipulate what you're thinking and your actions and your thoughts because of the upheaval of the safe environment that you had in your home no longer existing. So they're so successful at projecting blame onto neighbors, acquaintances, friends, and coworkers because of their ability to mimic the sound of the voices you are familiar with. They can copy any sound that you've ever heard. They don't even have to hear it live. They can record the sound of the voice from what you're thinking. They're so good at it that they can create voices like your neighbors or your coworkers, or to create conflict in your life. They can use the voice to say things that the neighbors aren't saying. And because they know what you're thinking, they can delve way far into your life, and talk about secrets that you were not familiar, nobody else in the world would be familiar with. And all of a sudden, you'll hear your neighbor next door talking about something they would have no way of knowing. You automatically would assume that they're listening to your apartment. Your space is being invaded, and they are somehow recording and have recording devices in your apartment or your house. They're so good at it. They did it over and over to me until I finally started to confirm what I was hearing. I would actually visually want to see them say what they're saying before I would believe it. And I dismissed everything else. I ignored it. If I could not confirm what I was hearing, I just ignored it. And gang stalking went away. The key to defeating gang stalking is to confirm everything you hear by observing it visually and ignoring everything else. And believe me, if you stick to that, you won't have any problems with your neighbors or coworkers anymore. The other thing they're doing with remote neural monitoring is looking for brain maps. They're looking for pathways that your brain goes through so they can record it. They can slide you up and down the spectrum of positive to negative. And they can use these brain maps in the future to manipulate your brain and make it process artificially when you're not using it. So I don't know that much about the brain maps because I haven't really observed it from their end. I do know that they are looking for certain methods or ways your brain gets things done so they can study it and try and manipulate it in the future against your will. So when the weapons are turned way up, they can run over how you naturally feel both physically and psychologically. And you are constantly aware of the external energy hijacking your body and your brain and taking over and making you feel a certain way. However, you really don't need to be concerned about losing any sort of control because you maintain your awareness of reality. You are completely aware that you're being lifted up, being manipulated into feeling a certain way. And you come down and it sort of goes away. Now, they are going to take you on a lot of rides, and there's nothing you can do. They're going to give you the fear that you're losing control of your brain, and they're going to take control, and you're not going to be able to know the difference or threaten you with the control of your brain, basically. You need to know that if you practice individualism, which is I am going to analyze the position I am at the very end of the manipulation and then decide, does that work for me? Is that positive? Is that something that I want to live with? And if it's not, then I find something that I do want to live with. And if it's not that big a deal, I sort of just accept it for what it is, ignoring all of the detours that I took in order to get to that spot. Individualism will remove that fear that you are losing your ability to control your thoughts in your brain, because it doesn't matter where they take you, what ride they take you on. The only thing that you're actually going to analyze is where you end up at the end. This eliminates so much fear of you losing control and them somebody else having control of your body, specifically a group of people that aren't very nice and aren't concerned about your priorities, which can be very scary. So individualism truly helps to lose that fear. So I hope I was able to summarize remote neural monitoring and the hacking of one's brain. These are the things that I noticed. I've been doing this for about 18 years. So I'm fairly certain that I'm pretty much on the money. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at mindcontrolinformation@gmail.com. And again, most of this information is on my blog, and the blog is mindcontrolinformation.blogspot.com. Thanks for listening, and I'm trying to get some sleep.